you love Star Wars? Do you love video games? Well, you'll love this video. Hey fellow geeks, Star Geek here, to count down the top 10 greatest Star Wars video games of all time. In this list, I am not combining any sequels or excluding any certain platforms. Whether the game is played on PC, Xbox, or an arcade system, they will be accepted here. The time periods of our games range from 1992 to 2007. I personally haven't played many of these games, but based on research and opinion, I have compiled a list that will make you want to play each and every one of them. Before we start, I want to give our 3 runner-ups that didn't quite make it on the list a chance to be in the spotlight. In 13th, we have Super Star Wars for the SNES. In 12th, X-Wing vs. TieFighter, and barely missing the list at number 11, Star Wars The Force Unleashed. So without further ado, here are the best Star Wars video games of all time. Running its way into number 10 is Star Wars Arcade for arcade systems. Towns all throughout America were thrilled to have the Star Wars game in their local arcades. Being the second oldest on the list, the graphics aren't exactly up to par with the 21st century standards. But that doesn't mean it's a bad game. You use the joystick to control your X-Wing in the persona of Luke Skywalker to shoot down TIE fighters in space and towers in the trench run to ultimately destroy the Death Star. I love how you get to relive the final moments in an instant classic. You can even hear the Star Wars theme constantly playing in the background to really get you in the mood of Star Wars. We also get to hear some of the actual sound bits from the film that remind us of the movie. Many die-hard old-school Star Wars fans believe this to be one of their favorites, enough to give the arcade system its spot on the list. Flying its way into number 9 is Star Wars TIE Fighter for PC. When TIE Fighter came out as the sequel to X-Wing, fans of the series were excited. You play as a TIE Fighter trying to help the Empire by destroying X-Wings, rebel bases, and spacecrafts. The story follows loosely around the Thrawn book trilogy by Timothy Zahn, very popular at the time, with Grand Admiral Thrawn commanding fleets of fighters. The Emperor is still at the top though, as this is set prior to his death in Return of the Jedi. I love the art in this as it's entirely made out of pixels, which really depicts characters in different ways that are fresh and interesting. With the exception of some poorly animated cutouts from the actual film, the art is exceptional and fun to watch. During gameplay, you pilot a TIE fighter of your choice, trying to sustain order and keep control in the galaxy. With great cutscenes, storyline, and gameplay, TIE Fighter worked its magic and gets into 9th place. Slicing into number 8 is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, for Xbox and PC. After the outstanding Knights of the Old Republic 1 was a great success, Knights of the Old Republic 2 was highly anticipated, and rightfully. The sequel to the mega success was also a mega success. The game takes place 5 years after the events of the first Old Republic, and at times Sith have practically wiped out all of the Jedi. You play a former Jedi Knight exiled from the Jedi Order, often referred to as Jedi Exile and the Exile, who had no name at the time, but was eventually dubbed Mitra Surik by Old Republic novels. You can choose your gender, although the more fitting one would be female. You are supposed to restore your connection through the Force while helping friends and stopping the Sith. Along the way, your choices will decide your path to the dark side or the light side. Although in my opinion the graphics aren't great, I've heard that the gameplay is incredibly fun and the storyline amazing. Because of the large fan base, Knights of the Old Republic 2 gets its spot in 8th. Jetpacking its way into number 7 is Star Wars Shadow of the Empire for Nintendo 64 and Windows 95. The story is based around the popular book that I have yet to read, Shadows of the Empire, by Steve Perry. It follows Dash Rendar, the pilot of the Outrider. The events take place directly after the Battle of Hoth, while you are led on many different chapters of the game. There are a total of 3 chapters that have you fighting Imperial craft, battling creatures and aliens, confronting gang members, flying in space battles, and destroying generators. Even without reading this book, this game looks extremely fun to play and fast-paced. Everyone loves the story of the once pilot/smuggler, and I can't wait to get a chance to play this game. If you have an N64, I suggest searching the web for a copy of this game as soon as possible. Being a classic and loved by everyone, this game deserves its place. Blasting its way into number 6 is Star Wars Republic Commando for Windows and Xbox. This game has a very Call of Duty feel to it, with Republic commandos fighting enemies throughout the separate battles in the Clone Wars. In the game, you play as a Republic commando squad by the name of Delta Squad. In the squad, you participate in battles on Geonosis, an assault ship named the Prosecutor, and the Wookiee planet of Kashyyyk. You play the whole time in first-person view, inside the helmet of one of the commandos. This game is fun and action-packed, and if you're a fan of first-person shooters and Star Wars, this game is a must-play. This game made the list, and it made it for good reason. Now we're on to the top 5, and to start off that list, we have Star Wars Battlefront for Xbox, Xbox 360, PlayStation 2, and PC. This game became an instant classic that is practically the brand of all Star Wars games. It's a great game, and one of the only ones I've played. You get to choose your type of clone trooper to go out and battle in various battles all over the galaxy. The battles are all set in chronological order, and are based on great planets like Commando, Theed, Kashyyyk, Hoth, Mos Eisley, Yavin 4, and even Endor. Every match sees the players fighting the enemy faction. You have to win by capturing all command posts in the map, or forcing the enemy reinforcement count to 0. The game also works in multiplayer, where you can play with friends over the internet, or on the same console, where you work as a team or against each other. This is one of the most recognized Star Wars games, and rightfully so. 5th place goes to Battlefront. Building its way up to number 4 is LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Wii, Nintendo DS, and PC. This was practically the first video game I ever played, and I loved it right from the beginning. From the funny cutscenes to the incorporation of LEGO, this game is incredibly unique. You play as up to 8 LEGO Star Wars figures that you collect from each of the levels. You're able to play through and complete the saga throughout each individual film, playing out the movie perfectly. One thing the Complete Saga has that LEGO Star Wars 1 and 2 don't have is an extra level that allows you to rack up stud coins. You use these coins you collect in levels to buy new characters, abilities, gags, and tips. This is one video game that I have always loved, and the fact is Star Wars, LEGO, and video game all in one, it's kind of the perfect package. And for those of you who think that nothing good ever came out of LEGO, think again. All I know is that LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga is worthy of 4th place. Pixelating into spot number 3 is Super Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back for the SNES. In this pixelated adventure, we follow Luke Skywalker through Episode 5, but in a new twist. Not only are there added levels not really shown in the film, but this is the oldest game on the whole list, and it shows. This is actually the sequel to the first Super Star Wars, but I personally believe this to be more fun, more action-packed, and more thrilling. The game is split up into 3 main parts. We start out on Hoth battling Wampas and probe droids, and then move on to Yoda's home planet of Dagobah, filled with new creatures at every turn. And we end the game off battling Darth Vader in Cloud City. I love the 8-bit art style and music. While the sound effects can be a little wonky, it's still a great game worth checking out. And the runner-up for greatest Star Wars game of all time is Star Wars Battlefront 2 for PC, Xbox, PlayStation Portable, and PlayStation 2. This sequel to Battlefront is even better, bigger, and more intense than the original. This game is by far more popular, and extremely fun. This is another game that I have played and thoroughly enjoyed. Similarly to Battlefront, you choose your side, and your type of trooper. This new game also has random Jedi spawns where you can play as a Jedi when it is randomly generated. New worlds were also built into this game like Megiddo, Coruscant, Felucia, Utapu, and an even better Kashyyyk and Geonosis. It's also great to play inside the Death Star and out into space. This game has better graphics and more dynamic playing modes than its successor. It's great fun to play with others, so I suggest calling up your cousin or best friend, popping this into your Xbox, and giving it a go. There's no doubt in my mind that this game deserves at least 2nd place. And finally, the best Star Wars video game of all time is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic for Xbox and PC. Although I have never played any of the Knights of the Old Republic games, when doing some research, this is by far the most popular game I could find. This is a Star Wars RPG that lets you use the Force and hone your skills at becoming a Jedi. This is a game less focused on story and more on creating your own path, but you still get to meet some great unforgettable characters along the way. I don't want to tell you too much about the game as it is at the top of the list, and I think you should try it out yourself without too many spoilers ruining it for you. As far as I've heard, this is the most fun game to play in the whole Star Wars game collection. This is a video game that inspired sequels, books, and fan fictions. So now you know the top 10 greatest Star Wars video games of all time, ranging from 8-bit to LEGO. All of the games are great fun to play and deserve their places. I know that there will be plenty of mixed opinions in the comments, so give me your list down there and why you think that they should go in that order. Subscribe to Star Geek for weekly Star Wars content. If you agree with my list, or at least enjoyed the video, why don't you just shoot that like button at light speed? You can go check out my Facebook page, linked in the description below. Also try clicking on the screen to subscribe, or link to my last video, Star Wars Factor Beam number 6, featuring Chewbacca on the left, or click on the right to watch news and rumors on DICE's Star Wars Battlefront 3, which I will most likely be updating within the next week or two. Until we meet again in a galaxy far, far away, this has been Star Geek.